Well, hey, everybody. You know me, I'm Shauna A., the delightful clinician, and I have a very special video for you today. We are going to be talking all things fun with Miss Steffany Feld, who is the leader of a very cool summit coming up. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Therapy Intensive Summit. We're going to talk to Stephanie about intensives in general. She is the go-to guru for when you want to build a therapy intensive. And we are also going to touch on what to expect if you go to the summit and some more fun things. So I'm going to let Stephanie go ahead and introduce herself, and we'll just take it from there.
Yay! Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for being a speaker at the summit. It's really exciting. So, I'm Stephanie. I'm a therapist in private practice in St. Louis, Missouri, and started doing intensives. Love them so much, and that's kind of where it all began. Now I support other therapists who are also like, well, what is this and how does it work and how can I share that with my clients? And I do that inside the intensive design lab. So I'm excited. We have the summit coming up. We're collaborating with a ton of talented and brilliant therapists who are sharing about their experience and how to make this happen, how to have a practice that you love and that lights you up. So, hey, happy to be here.
Yay! I'm so excited. I'm excited about the summit, and I have to share how I initially learned about you and learned about the Intensive Design Lab. It was about 2 years ago now in 2022 during the Therabundle, and your offer that year was a guidebook to intensives. And so that's when I learned about your therapy intensive group. And then there was the challenge, the 5 day intensive challenge, which was amazing. And then you asked if I would be a part of last year's intensive summit, which was so much fun. Last year I did side hustles and the side hustle panel, which was so cool and so much fun.
So good. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, so I'm super excited about this year and this year's panel. I'll be on the marketing panel this time around, which is cool. And that's actually what my interview was on, or my contribution to the summit this year was on marketing. So what I love about the summit itself is that there's so many different topics that all kind of contribute to your practice. And like if you were to host a intensive in your own practice, like it's all of the things that you would need to kind of build up that practice, which is really exciting.
Yeah, yeah, it's so good. Like the whole concept is just like build a practice you love with less work, more joy, and more impact. And
Yeah,
so it's just a ton of fun. There's so many different things to choose from, and the I don't think we said this yet. It's totally free. Like all the presentations are
absolutely.
free for 24 hours, which I'm like, jump on that. And then if people are like, no, okay, I'm not a binge watcher or whatever, I want to take my time with it, then there's an option to upgrade and get all the recordings and in a podcast and then all the speaker bonuses too,
Yeah.
which Shauna has a pretty incredible there's so many speaker contributions that are amazing in there as well. So very exciting.
I think like the cool part about this is that for me, like I always think that I'm like, oh, like I can watch every one of them and I'm gonna binge watch them. And then like it's midweek and I'm like, oh no, here comes this summit. And I forgot, like, oh no, what do I do? So like I think that when you like upgrade to the VIP all access pass, like it gives you that peace of mind of like I can take my time with this. I don't have to like rush and I can really just consume all of this information because there's just so much. And I also love that even though it's so much information, it's actionable. Like it's the steps that you need to kind of take your practice into the place that you really love beyond the couch, beyond what they as in grad school like tell us or what they teach us as far as building out our practices are concerned, if they're even teaching that.
Right, right. I mean, I don't think yeah, I don't think I got any kind of education about private practice at all.
Yeah, they definitely don't teach a lot about private practice in grad school. Although I've heard some people say that they got a like an elective where they got to do like private practice business, which I was like, oh, that's unheard of. That's amazing.
Yeah. Cool.
So tell me what led you to creating your first intensive? Like, how did that happen? And like, what made you really say like this is something that's more for me versus the traditional therapy services?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So it was kind of an accident, which is what a lot of people say, like a lot of therapists who I talk to. But I'd heard about intensives actually like a long time before that, maybe like 10 years. My therapist
Oh,
friend
wow.
told me, "Oh, I have a friend and they're on a sabbatical and they went to do this like week-long trauma intensive with a therapist in, I don't know, some other state." It's like a really specialized thing. And I was like, I'm such a like open person, but I was immediately like, I don't know about that. That can't be real. Like that can't, how do you just see someone for a little bit and then send them off? Like how could that work? So I stayed in that place. That was like my initial, right? Like
Hmm.
introduction. And then, years later, I started my practice. I got trained in EMDR. And I started hearing more and more about how people were doing these. And I was just like, that makes so much sense to me because I hate those moments when you're like you're really gelling with a client and they're like right on the verge of a breakthrough. And then you have to end. Like there's
Yeah.
literally another person like outside your door or like in your virtual waiting room?
Hmm.
So I was just like really tired of those moments or tired of feeling like we were just sort of showing up for session and like we did the thing, but we're not actually like addressing why they started therapy. I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I was just feeling like okay, I'm doing the thing, I'm filling my calendar, but I don't feel like this isn't why I started doing a practice. Like this isn't why I became a therapist. So I was like, okay, I think I want to do intensives. Then I was in a group around a specific niche.
Hmm.
And someone said, "Hey, does anyone do an intensive?" And it was like EMDR too for this niche. And I was like, nobody said anything. And it's like a national group. And so I said, I will. And then they said, great. And then I was like, okay, now I have to figure out how to do this. Which I hear from a lot of people that they're like, now I have a client who says they want to do deeper work. They want to work with me, but I don't know what to do. So what do I do? And it was an incredible experience. Like now, fast forward however many years, I only do intensive work now. I really don't do any weekly sessions. And it's because it was like very, almost has like an addictive quality, to share space with people that's really sacred, where like you're very, very locked in, they're in the zone, you're in the zone, and they're just like light bulb moments going off constantly. Once I got a taste of that, I was like, that's all I want to do.
Yeah, that's amazing. I have a question because this really led me to think about, what would we say to therapists who have the talent, have the skills? I think all of therapists that I've seen, that I've worked with, they're so talented, they're highly skilled, but they're afraid to take those chances. And so they have less like, oh, this is a new discovery. Like they have less of those ahas for themselves because they're so rigid in how they are working. And I understand that because of our this is
Yeah.
our livelihood. This is what we do. But there's little to no space to kind of have those kinds of moments to have like that level of exploration.
Mhm.
So what would you say to a therapist who's like, I think I want to do this, but they're not quite there yet. They don't know how to take that step or they're afraid to take that step.
Don't know I would recommend that to everybody, but it worked out in the end. There was
True, very
probably
true.
some probably wasn't as refined as it could have been. Um, I love that question because I think so many of us are like, that interests me, but I don't know that I'm like ready or I'm not like all the way there. There's a lot of question marks. And so I think I would say like talk to other people who've done it, and hear their experiences, hear what went well, what didn't. That's why I created the therapy intensive community, that Facebook group, because it is therapists from all different, backgrounds, niches, modalities, all working to offer therapy in this specific type of format. And so when you kind of like get to hear from other people, you're like, okay, I think this is legit. Like it wasn't just a one-off. It wasn't just this like Stephanie girl who told me it was a good experience. And
Mhm.
then I think it kind of builds your courage to say, okay, what if I just ask one client who I already know, who I feel comfortable with, who like, you know, we already are kind of maybe it's someone who it's hard to end the session. Like you don't feel like you're done. It's just very natural to say, hey, well, what if next week we go long on purpose?
Yeah.
And just like dip your toe in and see how it feels. Because is it for everybody? I mean, I love it. A lot of people do, but you won't know if it's right for you in your practice unless have just a very like gentle first I was gonna say first exposure. That sounds a little bit intense.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing about it is that you are still doing the work that you do day in and day out. You're just doing it a little bit longer. You're just doing it extended now, purposefully extended, right? This is not a moment where it's like, oh, we're over, right? This is like we are purposely going over so that we can see what's at the end of that thought, right? Like you're actually allowing for the client to fully complete a thought instead of being like, that's our time. I'll see you next time.
Yes. And I think when you do that, like when you say, okay, we're getting together for, my I didn't say this either. My intensives are usually 3-hour sessions.
Mhm.
And for the work I do, trauma work, I love doing 3 days in a row. That you can do it so many different ways, but that's what I enjoy. And so when you like sit with someone and you're like, okay, we're dedicating this time. It's gonna be 3 hours or 3 days or whatever. We've decided together we're going to focus on this specific topic that they want to work on. You just show up really differently. Even the like check in and check out feels different because it's not business as usual. We're Yeah, there's just like an intention, and that already sets you up for a much different experience than like when you're just walking in for your standard appointment.
Yeah. I love that. Like just being able to have something different from your standard appointment. I think it also helps to build therapists, like build your therapy services out because now you have a different offering than your standard
Yes.
services. And it also gives a therapist the ability to create like deeper connections, that deeper therapeutic connection with their client, which I think would assist in like furthering your outcomes because we know that therapeutic relationship is a key indicator to your therapeutic outcomes.
Yes. I think it's like when you go to camp, like a weekend camp
Yeah.
or week, and you're like, I'm best friends with this person. It's like, I do a lot of intensives with people I've never met before.
Mhm.
And so people are like, well, how can you do that and go so deep if you haven't had time to build the rapport the traditional way? And I'm like, it's just so different. At the end, we're like, can we hug? Like we just went on this long journey, you're like in a bubble outside the world because you're just so like in flow. It does really, really feel like a flow state,
Mhm.
or it can. And so I'm like, it's just a different kind of animal.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit in my next question. But I think this is a really cool thing and something that I like to highlight for therapists is that not only do you have a private practice that is quite out of the box with your therapy intensives, but you also now help therapists build their private practices as well and helping them create a practice that they love and that they enjoy. So, for you, how has that created freedom and flexibility in your career as a clinician?
Oh my gosh, so much. And I feel like that the intensives made space so that I could invest like more time and I guess even money into my second business where I get to like serve and support therapists. So I was able to charge more. That allowed me to work less because that was my value. I have a young kid, so I don't want to be totally burnt out or exhausted by the time I get home, or log off for the day, whatever it is. And it's just fun to have that choice. Like now I do have, I think like choice is power. And
Mhm.
so I have the option to say, okay, do I want to have an intensive this month? How many do I want to have? What are my income goals? Do I want to spend time working on, my side hustle or my courses or my other things? And I think being able to, or do I want to take time off? You know, Something I love is traveling. I know we've talked about that.
Mhm.
And I was always sitting over there with my full schedule, side-eyeing these therapists who are posting pictures of being in like Europe on retreats and doing all this stuff. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. I was like, you know, jealous. Like, how would that ever work? How do people afford this? And this year I got to go.
Yeah, you just did a speaking engagement, which was so in
Yes.
Costa Rica.
Yes. I know. It's like, that is what felt so good to me,
Mhm.
um is doing like going on retreats that build connections, that help me rest, that help me feel whole. And I mean, I couldn't have done that before. It felt like a pie in the sky thing.
Mhm.
And can I tell you one other story that's actually very funny? Yesterday, I was on a call with another therapist who's we're talking through like their marketing plan, right? And they do intensives and how are they going to do this? And I was like, "Okay, what are your goals? Because you could work less and keep your income, you could work the same and grow your income." And they're like, "I really want like 20,000 extra dollars per year."
Mm.
And the funny thing is, I laughed. Because that's my like default is to be
Mhm.
like, oh sure, well don't we all want that? Like, haha,
Yeah.
that's so out there, that's so out of this like whatever, that's such a far-fetched. And then I realized like it's actually not
Mhm.
because some of these intensives are I charge at $5,000. So $20,000, that's four in a year. If you did one per quarter, that's 20,000 extra dollars. So I was like, man, my own it hasn't even caught up yet.
Yeah.
Own-
And I think that's the default for a lot of therapists is like we're talking about a lot of money and like yes, I entered a group recently where it was like people who are coaches primarily, but they offer high ticketed service. And in my mind, a high ticketed service would be a $5,000 intensive.
Sure,
There are
yeah.
people in there offering $20,000 coaching services. And that is not even something I would begin to fathom. But like when you break it down to like, yeah, this is five extra services, or this looks like this. And you're also saying like this is not the majority of the caseload, right? These are a couple pickup sessions for the people who can get access to that, but you're still doing the other services. It kind of really shifts how your practice is operating. It also shifts what you're bringing in as well. And
Mhm.
it shifts your mindset as well, because now you're open to this whole new world of like, there's more beyond what we think we have to do as a therapist, or what our worth is, or even what we're getting on a daily basis as a therapist without
Right.
overworking yourself.
Right, right. Like what's even possible?
Yeah.
I'll shout out the summit again because one whole day is about that premium pricing
Mm.
and just how does that work and what gets in the way and all those kind of topics. So for a lot of people, they're like, I can't imagine it. I literally can't imagine it, or I could never afford that. And it's
Mhm.
like, well, you don't need every client to invest at that level. In fact, that would be, that'd be wild. That'd be kind of overwhelming. But you can serve the clients who are able to invest and who want to invest because they're out there. They,
Yeah.
they're out there. And then that's why we talk about marketing of, well, how do I find them? If they're there, I want to find them.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's the other part is like one, it's just the imagination of like, no, there are people out there that do this, that want to do this, and it
Mhm.
doesn't mean that you have to abandon yourself in order to do that.
Mhm.
But two, it does mean that you have to put yourself out there. You do have to market these services so that you are reaching and attracting the people that do want this service.
Mhm. Mhm. Oh, I love that. That is, it does require like some courage to be visible and to say, "Hey, I'm available for this.
Yeah.
I'm open for this."
Yeah, a little bit of boldness, a little bit of audacity to kind of go out of your way. And like I think that's the cool thing too, is that I think intensives is something that people don't know enough about, where that therapists can really kind of take advantage of that this is something still really unknown about to many, many people. Um,
Mhm.
Even just the idea of like, what would it be like to sit with my therapist for a longer period of time to really hash out something? And now
Yeah.
for some people, they're like, oh, I need months and years. But some people are like, I'm tired. I just want to relieve myself of all of the burdens that I'm holding on to at this point in time. And they might be the perfect person for an intensive.
Exactly, like, that is who it serves really, really well.
Mhm.
I just, was on a call with a therapist who did their first intensive with a client they'd seen off and on for a really long time, and she said I think they did 4 days, and she said on the 2nd day, the client said, "This is more than we could have done in 6 months."
Wow.
I know. I was like, "What?" Like, she didn't, that wasn't even the therapist being like, "Well, I think da 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 da," it just bubbled up naturally from the client. So it's like, whew, when you get people in that zone of readiness, um, what like that the progress is just exponential. So it's really cool. And that's, I mean, don't we all want to work with clients who are like ready?
Mhm. Yeah,
It's such a gift
absolutely.
for us too.
And I think everybody should have the clients where you're like, I can work with you day in and day out. Like this is so easy. It feels so easy when you've got the right client sitting in front of you.
Mhm. Mhm.
I want to ask one last thing. It's essentially what can people expect when they sign up for the summit?
Yes. Okay. So the summit's happening April 28th through May 1st. And like we said, it's all free. So you can grab your ticket if you decide you want to upgrade. This, I'm always telling people, like, be prepared, because right when you first sign up, you get opportunity to upgrade, and that's like the super discount, right? So it's the lowest price. Just be prepared, because if you like a good deal, that's where it is. But so you'll get some emails every day. The All the presentations are pre-recorded, so you don't have to like cancel your day or cancel your schedule or anything. At 5 a.m. Eastern in the morning, they all go live. And we have the Summit Facebook group. So it's already hopping in there. There have been people joining and having like lots of fun connections and conversations. And every day we're giving away a prize. People play Summit Bingo. Like, if you watch a presentation, boom, you just get to click off your bingo page or whatever. And there's also live panels with the speakers, like we talked about. And
Mhm.
those are, oh, I should say this too, those are exclusive to the All Access Pass holders. So if you're like on the fence and you're like, ooh, no, I do want to get on that call with Shauna and talk about marketing, then for sure grab the pass.
I
And
am so looking
then
forward to that panel, by the way.
it's
I'm
so
so excited about
fun,
it.
right?
Yeah.
It's you, Amber Lyda, and Ariana Smith. Like, that's just a very delightful, delightful group. So it'll be really good. Just space to talk about marketing and specifically like questions that we all have. Sometimes we just need another person to talk it through with, and it can unlock so much. So that's happening on yours is on Wednesday, day
Mhm.
3. And then I'll be closing us out with the grand finale masterclass. And it's this year, it's all about a simple and sustainable shift. Adding intensives to your practice for more ease, income, and client breakthroughs. So it's a 2 hours long. I'm offering it on Thursday and Friday. There'll be a replay, and I'm going through all the steps of okay, what does it actually look like to start offering intensives in your practice? So super fun, and lots of opportunities to connect, and it was just so much fun last year. It was so like inspiring, all the good feels. So definitely hope you can join us.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I hope you all can join, especially to come and see the panel. Even just like the 5 days without the panel, it's so worth it.
Yeah.
Just to kind of hear from other therapists, hear how they're doing things in their practice. The marketing, I know the marketing panel is going to be amazing. I just remember from last year how people kept expressing how deeply moved they were from the different panels that they were engaging in, and then the different presentations that they received. They really, really enjoyed it. So I'm super excited about that again this year to just see how therapists can step out and build those thriving practices that they've always wanted to create and build.
Yay. So
Yay.
good. Thank you so much. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Me too.
Um, I know we'll share your link, and then if anybody has questions, of course, we're here for that too.
Yes, you can absolutely sign up via my link. It will be shared in your notes below. Whether you are joining me from my Patreon or on my email list, it will be there. So just click on it and join from there and go ahead and get yourself that all access pass so you can also get to enjoy some of those exclusive bonuses and those replays. So,
Oh, I didn't even say that the all access pass holders get early access. So before the summit
oh,
even starts, you get to watch the Sunday before. So you have a whole day to, I'm like, ooh, Sunday, fun, to start listening to the presentations you love. And the summit quiz, super fun this year. A fun quiz. We can share the
oh
link. I know it tells you your top presentations, so you know where to start. You get a little match.
That's awesome. Yeah. So definitely check it out, join, and hopefully we will see you there at the summit. Again, you can check out the links below. Thank you so much for joining me today, Stephanie, and answering these questions. I'm so excited for the summit. And please let people know where they can find you as well so that they can follow along and start learning about summits too.
Yes, so you can always find me at intensivedesignlab.com. And on Facebook, the group is Therapy Intensive Community, launching, I know I'm like, what is it? Launching intensives in your private practice. So that's where I'm at.
Great. All right, y'all. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much to Stephanie, and bye for now.